Hello everyone, my name is Taren and I studied mathematics at Cambridge. Today I'll show you how to think like an Oxbridge academic. I'll be going through an Oxbridge question and using the tips technique to consider how to answer the question. The question I have today is sketch y equals e to the 1 over x. So when doing graph sketching, it's important to consider all the tools that are at our disposal. So the first tool would be consider the domain and range. Well, this function I know is y equals e to the something. Okay, the main thing is this e to the power of x, or in this case 1 over x. But we know that the range is y is bigger than 0. Okay, the domain is therefore defined by the function here in the brackets. So the domain is defined by, let's just put our 1 over x here, and I know that 1 over x, the domain, we know that x can take any value except but x not equal to 0. X cannot equal to 0. Okay, but we can think about this critical value here later analysis. One thing to note as well is the information in this question is all in the graph. Okay, so the information is everything we have here. Okay, now the first proposal I'd have, if I look at some graphs, I know that considering these tools, the domain and range, I've shown that the range is bigger than is y bigger than 0 because you have an exponential. I've also shown that the domain we know is between minus infinity and infinity, and x cannot be 0. So what I would say here is let's consider what happens as x tends to plus infinity and x tends to minus infinity. Well, as x tends to plus infinity, this gets really small. The power gets really small. And if the power gets really small, then we have effectively, we're going to get a point where we're going to get e to the power of 0. And we know that e to the power of 0 is 1. So we know that it's going to tend to 1. And will it tend from above? Yes, because if x, if we consider x as not approaching the 0, is x is positive, we have e to the power of a slightly positive number above 0, and we know that that is bigger than 1. And what happens as x tends to negative infinity? Well, we have 1 over a really small negative number, and that we know also tends to 1 because it's going to be a negative small number, but it's going to tend to it from below. So we're going to have a graph coming from here and here. What happens in the middle? Well, we need to consider what happens as x tends to plus 0 from above, and x tends to 0 from below. And in this case, 0 from above, this is going to be e to a very large number, so it's going to go much bigger. And then as x tends to 0 from below, so we could say y tends to plus infinity. We say y tends to 1 and 1, and we have y tends to plus infinity, and then here we have y actually tends to, well, when x approaches 0 from below, this is going to be very big but negative, and we know that that tends to 0. So actually this function goes like that. And I have just shown you how to use the tips technique to answer an Oxbridge question. My name is Taren. I've just taught you how to think like an Oxbridge academic.